Hi guys, my name is Parnali Dharia. I'm a Women International Master and today we are going to learn about scanning technique. Just a moment guys, let me check if I'm live. Hi guys, my name is Parnali. Okay, cool. So, as we all know, Unacademy has come up with a chess subscription and you can use my referral code Parnali16 and you can get the first month at just ₹99 and you can get to learn from all the top coaches and Anand and Kramnik. So do subscribe guys if you haven't already. And today our topic is going to be scanning technique and how to calculate. So it is a very interesting topic. Hello Bimba. So let's begin. Okay, so what is scanning technique exactly? Scanning technique is basically you go from A file to H file and you try to find all the possible moves that can be played. So even in the initial position, can you tell me what are the moves that can be played? So how many moves are there in the initial position? Can anyone tell me? Am I audible guys? Hello Atul. So Atul, today we are going to learn about scanning technique and in the initial position, how many moves? Okay, Prashant has the answer, 20, you're right. So how did you calculate that? So you must have counted, right? Yes, Saubhagya, you're right. So scanning technique is basically you see all the moves from A file to H file. So you just scan the board. So I see A4, one move, A3, same with all the pawns. And till the H file, so 8 into 2, 16, and there are 4 knight moves, right? So these 2 moves and these 2 moves. So these 20 moves are your candidate moves, and candidate moves don't have to be good or bad. They just have to be moves that can be played, like legal moves, and then from that you decide what can be done later on, or like which is a better move. So you calculate later on. The second thing while calculating anything is checking your opponent's threats. So it can like you can calculate a long variation, but if you don't know what your opponent is threatening, then it is not going to work for you, right? So if you don't know what your opponent is threatening, you can be winning a queen, but then you will be you'll lose the game, right? Just a moment guys. So this is basically scanning technique, and let's move on to one example. You can try to solve that. So you can try to solve this position guys. It is white to play and I want you to tell me in the live chat what are the possible moves by white here. You can scan the board again, use the same technique. So you start with the A file. So right now I have a king here on the A file, but I'll start with the pawns. So I'll start with one move can be A6, one can be G6 since there are no pawns here. Then I come to the king. I can play these 3 moves and these 5 moves, or I can move the knight. So here it is not really possible, but okay, 1, 2 and 3. So in total I have 5 plus 3, 8 plus 2, 10 moves. So which is the correct move in this position? I'm just teaching you how to calculate candidate moves, and then you can use the scanning technique for. Just a moment guys, I'll check the live chat. Okay, good evening Adarsh. Okay, Atul says G6, Saubhagya says G6. Bimba says 10 moves. You're right. There are 10 possible moves. Okay, guys, it's 11 because you can even capture. My bad. So this is 11th move. Anupriya says g6. Okay, so here h4 was played by black and then g6. Okay, so after g6, what should black play here? Obviously, he'll push the pawn. Then you push, he pushes. Here, you're right. 11 moves. You capture here and it's the 11th move. So queens and queens. So after this, there's not much. You are not really winning here. He has a lot of perpetual checks that are possible. So he can just give a check. The knight can be captured here right now. So g6 is one move, but g6 is not really helping. There is a move that can actually help. So in this position, g6 is one variation that we saw. Is there any variation that you can think of? Something similar? Okay, so here obviously the king moves are not great because he'll just push the pawn. So moving the king is not going to help. You can't waste time. So you have to make a forcing move. So it can either be, so king moves are out of question. No problem, Adarsh. So king moves are out of question right now. So are the knight moves because the knight can be captured, and all the squares, even if I play this move, then for example I play knight d8, then h pawn is stronger, and again you have problems with check. Hello Saubhagya, hello Rahil. Okay, you're right. So the move left is a6 and ab6. So ab6 again doesn't help because takes and the same variation. Again, you're not really helping. So you play a6, and when he captures, then the difference is that when you play this here, takes, and then now you have this interesting move queen a8 check. So all of this is forced. So how did we lead to a6 move? So we first calculated the obvious g6, and then we realized g6 is not working. So then we checked if the king moves are working, but obviously they are also not working. Then we checked ab6, we checked the knight moves, but none of them is working. So we played a6 first, and here if a6 he plays h3, then again he has the same issue. a8, queens, h1 queens, and then you can give this check with the knight. Yes, Saubhagya, you're right. So you give this check with the knight and you win the queen here. Yeah, so this was a small example of how you can find all the candidate moves, and then you can decide what is to be played exactly. And during the game it is slightly difficult because there are many moves that are working, and especially if it's not a tactical position, then there can be a lot of strategical moves. So during that, scanning technique is really useful. You can try to find your opponent's threats, then you can evaluate the position, and then you can decide what you should play. Okay, let's move on to the next game. So this is a slightly difficult puzzle, and here queen into b2 was played. So I want you to find the candidates for white here. You can start with the a file and you can tell me what are the candidates possible. So any legal moves you tell me, and then out of those moves we'll select a few moves which are actually threatening or which are actually useful in some way. Okay, rook e5 is one move. Alright. Any other move, guys? So other moves, obviously a4, a3 are not really working. Like, they can be played, but they are not really threatening. So let's avoid those two moves. c4 can be one move threatening the rook, but again you can just move the rook and there is no real threat. c4 can be played, but after rook a5 I think I'm just fine, like there's no problem. Okay, rook e5 is pretty popular, and queen f6 too. Okay, let's check out what happens to rook e5. So rook e5, I can capture rook into e5, and then you play queen f6, right? That's the idea, I think. So you destroyed this defender. But can you find the defense for black here? Soumyadeep, I'll come to your move. Even Anupriya, I'll come to queen f6. Okay, someone suggested queen d5. Okay, takes, and you want to play rook e5. Okay, the problem here is I can even play f6 or f5, or I can even play queen b5 and just prevent this idea. So it's not a forced mate. So rook e5, rook into e5, the problem is queen f6, and you can just give this check. Yes, Saubhagya, you're right. This move, and then just queen e4. So there's a perpetual here, and you cannot defend against it. So rook into e5 is not working. Now let's check what happens to queen f6. And now I again want you to take your time and use the scanning technique. So black can either play just go from a7 pawn to h7 pawn, and just tell me what are the possible moves here. Soumyadeep, I'll come to rook e2. We'll see that move also. We'll go one by one. So let's try to refute queen f6 in a way. Is it possible? Do you think this is winning for white? Queen into b2 was a blunder, it means, if this is winning. Okay. Someone suggested rook d1. Alright. The problem with rook d1 is I can just capture queen into e5. It protects this. And it's great that you saw that after this, bishop into g7, there is no rook e8 because you prevented this. It is great that you saw this idea. And queen into c3 is suggested, but the problem is queen g7 again, and then bishop into g7, again rook e8. So takes this, and it's forced mate again. So anything can anything be done here? Is there a way out? So let's see the obvious. So bishop into f6 is obviously not working because rook e8, and you made the opponent. The other move to guard this rank could be queen a3 in a way, because queen g7, for example, if I play queen a3, right now this is hanging, but queen a3 takes, and now you have this idea with queen f8. So it is a possibility, but the problem is that you can just capture here for queen e3 and you lose the bishop. So can you find a way, guys? Use the scanning technique. Don't make obvious decisions here. See all the moves. Like, obviously these pawn moves are not really going to help. So can rook move help, like here? Or can the bishop move help here? Okay, so Bhagya suggests a queen move with queen b1. So Bhagya, again your idea is correct, but queen into e5 is the problem. So even though you pin this rook, you capture this, so you're supporting the rook on e1. If he takes, then you can take. If he takes here, then you will take on b1 and you're a piece up. And for g5 you can just play h4 and the piece is getting out. So the idea is correct, but okay, let's see. So how many rook moves here? Like probable rook moves. Rook d8 is not possible, so we don't think about that. Bishop, he cannot move, so even we don't think about the bishop. So we end up with the king and queen. You can't move the king also, so you decide where to move the queen here. Queen e2, I can just take, so it will just prolong the mate. So one can be this move, one can be this move takes, queen into a2. So these are the few moves that are possible. Out of that, queen a2 is not good because again the threat. Queen c3 we already saw, queen b1 we already saw, queen a1 doesn't make much sense because again queen into e5 the same plan. But queen c1 is the move. So queen c1 is the important move here and the only defense, because now if queen into e5, then h6 is hanging. So that was the point behind queen c1. So there is a defense here, and if you use this scanning technique, only then you can find this move. Otherwise it's very difficult. Okay, Bhagwati, queen d2, the problem remains. Queen g7 takes, and then rook e8. So you're not defending queen with queen d2. The idea with queen c1 is that you're pinning this rook here. So if I play the same variation, then I don't have rook e8 because this is a pin. That is the problem here. Queen c1 is obviously difficult, but it is not impossible to find such a move if you use the scanning technique. All I did was I tried to move this, but it was not possible. I tried to make a move with the bishop, it was not possible. With the king also it wasn't possible. So then I went to the queen and checked if queen can defend in any way, because the pawn moves are not really helping. So then I checked if queen b1 is possible, but it's not. So queen c3 is also not possible, which protects this, but it's not working. So then I come up with the conclusion that I need queen c1 so that I even attack this bishop here. So for this move, if he captures, then you just take, and it's going to be better for black here because you're a pawn up. Okay, so if not, queen f6 is the attack over. I don't think it's over. So what should be the move for white? Queen f6 is not working. And all of this you should know before playing the move. So you calculate this before playing queen f6, because if you play queen f6, then obviously if your opponent finds queen c1, then he's going to win, right? Or at least it's going to end in a draw. So right now white is attacking. He has a great bishop here. Rook is also well placed. Queen is also ready to attack with queen f6. And now we saw that there was a problem with queen c1. So can you try to defend against that threat with any other move, so that you can renew the threat of queen f6? It's difficult, guys. So for instance, okay, queen f4. That's a nice suggestion, Atul. Queen f4, the problem is that now I can capture here, not here, on c3, because now there is no queen g7 threat, so you're not opening this file. That is the problem. And now you're attacking here. So Atul, yes, let's go to king g2. You're right, king g2, renewing the threat of queen f6, because now queen c1 is no longer a pin. So that is why queen f6 is a threat now. So how should black defend here? Yes, you're right, king g2. So again, my threat is same. I want to play this. So you can suggest a move from black, guys. It can be queen c3, it can be f5 to prevent queen f6, or it can be something like queen into a2. Just suggest moves, guys. Okay. So Bimba suggests queen c3. So queen c3, the problem is I can take here. And takes, then rook e8. So it is out of question again. You cannot capture the pawn. f6 is one move, you're right. f5 is one move. Rook d8, Bhagwati, rook d8, this bishop is hanging. So okay, if f6, then Saubhagya says it's wrong. So why is it wrong, Saubhagya? You're right, it's wrong, but can you tell me? Adarsh also says f6. Okay, f6 is the most obvious move, guys, and it is obviously it is definitely a candidate here because it is a legal move and you're protecting this, so it makes sense to play f6. But the problem here is you have this rook sacrifice, rook into e5, and when he takes, then you capture here. So now you have multiple threats which black cannot defend, and that's the reason f6 is not working. So even if you capture with the pawn here, queen f8 is a mate. So f6 is wrong. Let's check what happens to f5. Yes, Saubhagya, rook e5, you are right. So what happens to f5 here? Yes, Atul, you are right. So f5, you are defending against queen f6. So that is a good move definitely, and also you are making space for the king. So it is definitely a good move, f5 here. But what if I play c4? c4, can you find the move, guys, for black? There are just okay, 1, 2, 3 and 4 moves possible with the rook. So you can try to find those. Rook d6 also, but it's not really working, I think. So right now you can move the rook because queen protects the pawn, bishop on e5. So you can move the rook. For instance, if you go something like rook a5, okay, so you just want to capture here, or just keep an eye on the bishop and then decide what to do. Atul says rook c5, okay. Rook c5, I can just play bishop f4, that is the problem. So if you take, then I can take, and again the king is really exposed. So I'll get my rook inside, I'll even get this here, queen can go to c7, and a lot of problems for black here. That is why rook c5 is not possible. Saubhagya suggests rook d8, okay. Rook d8, I can play queen e3. So again, if you move the bishop, then I have this check. If you go inside, then I play this, and it's going to be a checkmate. So anything else? Rook d7, rook d6, all queen e3 I'll play. So we are left with just one move, rook a5. So for any rook move on the d file, I'm going to play queen e3 and attack this bishop. So that's the reason the rook c5 also is not working, because bishop f4. But the difference between rook a5 and rook c5 is that a2 pawn is under attack and something can be done about it. So if for example I say rook d1 in order to get the rook here, then I can just play queen c2. So queen c2 is a good move. Yes, Bhagwati, you're right. Now you are just planning to exchange the queen with queen e4, and then you are just fine because you are a pawn up, the bishop is active, the rook is also attacking this e2 pawn. So already you're better. Okay, so this was one possibility. Are you finding this too difficult, guys? Because this is how you will learn about the scanning technique, because you will have to see every move and every refutation to that move. So it's going to take some time. Let me know if you have any doubts. Okay, rook e2 is another move that Adarsh is suggesting for f5. Okay, so rook e2 is a nice move, but I think now I can capture here, because firstly, if you take, my king has the square here, so that is the difference. And now I am 2 pawns up. Okay, Pratik, great. So f5 surely defends, and that is why king g2 is also not working. Okay, so let's see 1 second. King g2 and f5, and for instance you play here bishop f4, then what? This is really interesting variation. Because of bishop into f4, then you capture. He has to play queen d2 here. It is a forced move here. Otherwise, again, the queen enters the position and the rook is really active. So, a lot of trouble for black here. Queen d2 attacking this rook here, and even threat of exchanging the queen. Rook e8 will be played most probably. King f7. And now queen b8. So here again he is trying to attack, and it looks scary for black, but if you think deeper, you will realize that after rook d7 there is nothing that can be done by white. So you can play rook h8, but king f6 and the king is totally safe. So it looks very risky during the game, and if this happens on the board, you might panic, but you should remember that you are a pawn up and you can give up a pawn here. So material wise you are just equal even if he captures here, and you have this perpetual idea with queen d5 and queen d1, so you shouldn't be scared. Okay, so let's see something else than king g2, because king g2 you played to avoid something like that check, but let's see something else. And king g2, for instance, let me just tell you, queen into a2, queen f6 for instance. Yeah, you're right, this can be played, but the problem is sorry, that's why the queen a2 is wrong. And now if rook into e5 is wrong, queen f6 is correct, then you can just take here. Again the problem is that there's no queen b1 and there's no this check, but now queen d5 check is there, so again you have to fight against the perpetual. So that is why rook into e5 is wrong, and you can play direct this move. So that is the defense. We forgot about queen into e2. So can you suggest a move for white here? There are a lot of moves, like h4 can be one move, g4 can be one move, then bishop f4 can be one move, queen e3 can be one move. So let's see what happens to queen e3. So queen e3, again you are threatening f4, and you are also threatening against queen into a7. You're threatening the pawn here. Also you're threatening c4. So a lot of threats, and it is difficult for black to defend. So what do you think should be black's move here? Sorry guys if it's slightly difficult for you, but I don't think there's a better position than this to analyze scanning technique. Yes, Shan, you're right. There was a perpetual check possible. But black is fine with a draw because in the position that we saw initially after queen into b2, it looks as if white is just going to win. So black is not really playing for a win here, he's playing for a draw. He doesn't really want to win. We're just trying to refute. Maybe I can flip the board for you if you want to think from black's side. Okay, so we have many suggestions. Queen c3, f6. Okay, so the problem with f6 is f4. f4 is the problem. Or even I can just take here. And the king is too exposed. So right now I'm threatening queen e8 and also queen f8 and a lot of trouble. Okay, b6 is one move that is being suggested. b6 I think I can play c4. I think I can play c4. So the problem is after f4 you have this rook d2 move. So if I play f4 here, you can play rook d2. Interesting, right? Because now suddenly black gets a lot of activity here. So even if you capture, he definitely has slight compensation and he will threaten some things here. But yes, f4 is a possibility, but first you can play c4, get the rook out from this d file, so there is no rook d2. Maybe the rook goes here, and then you can decide if you want to play this move or you just want to wait. Okay, so Bhagya, queen d2 is hanging here because the bishop on h6 is controlling this square. Queen c3 is not possible again because takes and you have rook e8. So there is a very interesting move and it is out of the box. So I think I showed you a similar move when I was initially talking about a similar threat with rook e8 when the queen can come in between, or there can be some defense on this 8th rank. Let me know the moves, guys. I'll just have a sip of water till then. Okay, so the move here is slightly difficult, but again, you go by the scanning technique. The rook, if it moves, it's not really helping, right? Because you're not really doing, the rook on d5 is doing great job. Bishop is sort of trapped here because it cannot move. You threaten this mate. So bishop g7, bishop f6 are all out of question. You cannot move the bishop. So bishop and rook cannot be moved. The king cannot be moved. The pawn, if f6 is played, then we saw there is this threat. So how do you defend against this queen e8? Can you possibly have a piece that can come in between later on? So the idea is queen a3, and it is a very difficult move, but queen e3 saves the game. So now again, if f4, then can you spot the difference? What happens? Can you tell me what black should do here? And he can save the game. Anyone can answer, guys? Okay, so here if bishop g7, then queen e8, and now you have this interesting move queen f8. So when he takes, you capture with the king and not with the bishop, because again, then rook e8 will be a problem. So you capture with the king, and that is how you defend against the threat. Yes, Bimba, you're right. You're right. So queen a3 is a brilliant defense, and for a long while when this position was solved, no one could figure out queen a3 move. Everyone was behind f6, or maybe everyone thought that this position is winning for white. But after queen a3, things changed, and again this example is a beautiful example because of lot of variations possible. So queen a3 saves the day, and let's see what happens to queen a3 c4. You can just take here. If you take, and now if you play rook a5, f4 is not possible because of bishop d4. So there is a skewer, there is a pin here, and this move is slightly incorrect, but it can be played, but it is incorrect because after this, even though your a pawn up, after f4 the bishop moves, and then there can be some perpetual or some problems. So basically, if the queens are exchanged, then black is playing for a win. b3, Saubhagya, bishop d4. Okay, bishop d7. Okay, Saubhagya went b3. So here, after this move, black decides not to play, white decides not to play c4. He plays king g2. Alright, so can you tell me what the idea of king g2 is? Again, we saw all the variations. So there was one problem with the king. That was the skewer that we saw. Sorry guys, the pin that we saw with bishop d4. So that's the reason he played king g2. Again, he is threatening c4. So c4 is again threatened, and there is no bishop d4 later on in the variation. So again, what do you play with black? Do you play b5 to prevent this? Or do you move the rook? Or do you play f6? What do you play here after king g2? Okay, when queen was on b2, queen b3 is not possible because you just played c4. So queen b3, you can't have two moves, right? And this queen cannot come to b3 because of the a pawn. Okay, so in this position, what should be black's move? You can take your time, guys. There are a few threats again. So one is c4, one is f4, and there is one problem now with this move also. So b5, for instance, if you just try to prevent c4 directly, the problem is I'll still play c4. I'm not scared. I'll still play c4 and takes, and even if you take, I again have f4. So again, this bishop is becoming a problem. So if you move, then rook e8, and the king is not getting out. So you need an escape square for the king. So you play f6. So basically, again, this is thinking about your opponent's plan, because you realize that your opponent is planning to play c4 and as well as f4. So the best way to get the king out is to play with the f pawn, so that you have f7 square for the king. Bimba suggests queen d6 and Saubhagya suggests queen a4. Okay, queen a4. Queen a4, I can play f4. Can play this move. So now the difference is there is no longer bishop g7 because the queen is on a4 and not on a3. So you cannot move bishop g7 because the queen is not coming in between. With queen d6, the problem again is c4. When the rook moves, then you can capture here on a7, or you can play f4 and then play rook e8. Okay, Anupriya suggests queen into c3. Anupriya, you're not really solving the problem, because takes, and again rook e8. So I think this is slightly difficult for you guys, but okay, f6 is the move. And now if f4, then you play king f7. So this is very difficult to see. F into e5, you sacrifice this, rook into e5, queen d2, takes, and basically it's a draw because you have 3 pawns for the bishop. So when he played queen into b2, he calculated some variations. Obviously he didn't see everything, but he decided that it is very difficult for white to come up with a move, because white has a lot of options. Okay, queen c5 is one move. Okay, let's see that also. So f4 and queen c5. But can't I just capture here? Okay, you mean here. Alright. Queen c5. Again, I'll capture here, and then takes, I'll play f4. Not solving the problem. This bishop and the back rank is the problem. So you need escape square for the king. But okay, it's a good try. So again, king g2 is also not working. Queen e3 is also not working. So he realizes that even though black, actually here white thought that queen into b2 and I can just play queen f6 and I'll win the game. But then when the opponent played queen into b2, then white realized that there's a defense with queen c1. So then he panicked, and now then he used the scanning technique, and then he came up with a move like g4. Okay, so it is very difficult to spot this, and in the game I'm not sure if g4 happened. I think h4 was played in the game, and black played f5. He found the defense, and it leads to a similar variation with the one we saw with king g2. So it is probably going to end up in a draw again. So what happens to g4, which is the correct move in the position? And it is obviously very difficult to find this move. Unless you use the scanning technique, you can never find a move like g4, right? Because now you realize that you are defending against f5. So you can capture here, as well as you are renewing the threat of this. And can you tell me another benefit of g4? So for instance, I play okay, so just imagine as if it's white to play. Can you tell me what the problem is? So maybe something like maybe queen c2 or queen into a2. Maybe queen into a2. And if I capture here, takes. Can you spot the difference, guys, between this position and the position we saw earlier with the perpetual check? There's a small difference, but it is that difference is just winning the game for white. So here you play queen b1, king g2, queen e4, check. But now you play king g3. So you have created some space for the king with g4 move, and that was the idea. So it's very deep. Unless you calculate the main variations with direct rook into e5, you will never come up with a move like g4, right? So now if queen d3, then you just play f3, and it's a no check position. You cannot defend against queen g7, so you win the game. Obviously you can prolong by capturing here, but it's not really going to help. Yes, Vijeta, you're right. King escapes to g3. That is the difference. So again we see the use of scanning technique or calculation in general. So he calculated all the variations, and then he saw what his opponent was trying to do, and then he came up with a move like g4. Okay, queen e8. This move rook h5, it's not helping because this is just a mate. So I don't play this move here, right? I don't go to h4. Instead, for queen d3, I don't play this move. because there can be some possibilities. Again, I feel it's a no check position, but f3 is simpler somehow. Because I think this is not working. g5 is the problem here, because you will get mated here. So f3 saves the day for white, and he wins the game, in fact. So that is the advantage of g4. You prevent f5, and it is such a difficult move to see, right? You cannot really find this move. You might consider this, but it's very rare that you will actually come up with this move and play it on board. So let me ask you, what happens to queen c2, for instance? Do not hurry, guys. Take your time. So queen c2, what is black's idea? Can you spot black's idea with queen c2? So the idea is, if rook into e5 is played, you take. If queen f6, now you give queen d1 check. So if the king goes up, then you have this move, queen g4. So that is the idea with queen c2. Tough, guys. So now, how do you play against queen c2? And whenever you're learning alone, or whenever you're seeing a game, make sure you follow the same technique. So don't look at the moves, like check out the opening properly. Like you can arrange the board, then you can take up a game, and then you can make a few moves over the board, like around 10 moves till the opening is over. Any game you take, any grandmaster game or any world champion game, you look at the game for 10 or 12 moves till the opening part is over, because you cannot know all the openings. So it's better to not guess the openings and waste time. Once you're done with the 12 moves, keep the sheet aside and try to refute, like try to play that position with yourself. So you make a move with white, then you think, what am I doing? Like, what is as black? What should be white's threat? What are you threatening as white? And then you try to refute that with black. So you keep on alternating, and that is how you will improve with chess. Queen f6, again I'll play queen c1. So it's the same. The queen has access to c1 square. So queen f6, I can again go queen c1. Again the same defense that we earlier saw. Queen e5, queen b6. And now it's probably better for black, because a lot of weakness here. So that is why queen c2 is a really nice move. You're defending against queen f6, as well as you're keeping in touch with the c1 square. You're not playing queen e2. Queen f6, queen c1, guys. You're defending here. Yeah. So here white may think that after g4, which is a very difficult move, black is just going to lose. But black already has a defense. He can play f5. And you might be wondering, okay, I'll come to that later. First, let's see f5. So the defense is f5. If he takes, then you play rook d7. Again, a very difficult move to find. And the idea is to get this rook to f7 and attack here. I'm sorry, guys. So if queen into c3, then you play rook e3 and then again queen c2. So it just saves. If c4 is played here, then you play rook d7. So this is not possible because the queen is supporting here. And now if gf5, then you play rook f7. Any confusion, guys? Let me know. So here for this, you capture queen into c3 and not rook d7. Rook d7 is wrong. Queen into c3 is correct. But if he plays c4, then rook d7 is correct. Alright. Okay, so f5, and what happens if I play c4 here with white, or even queen e3? Let's see queen e3 first. So what happens if I play queen e3 here? Okay, rook e2 is possible, but you're not helping, because queen b1 I'll just play, and then you might have to defend here. Not sure. I don't know, like here there are no threats after this, because g into f I can capture with the queen. So, and there's no queen f6 again. So rook e2 is possible, but it is not the best move. fg4, queen f8 is a mate, Bimba. Okay, so here let's consider something like can you tell me what can be played here? Acha, after queen e3. Okay, then you're right, fg4 is the move. You're right. Let me just show it to the viewers. So here Bimba says this move, and I think this is a correct move, because there is no way for the queen to get to these two squares, and even after this you can just capture here and nothing's happening. So there is no queen f8. So you're right, Bimba. Can you tell me what happens if I capture queen into a2, and if you play something like queen e3? Sorry for the lag, guys. Okay, so here when black played queen into b2, obviously it was a practical decision. It was a correct decision, because as white it is very difficult to find g4, and the most obvious move that white was thinking was queen f6, but also that is not working. We saw that queen c1 is the problem, and so queen into b2 is not a mistake. I initially asked you if queen into b2 is a mistake, but queen into b2 is actually a good move, even if white finds g4 and black also finds f5. After c4 it is slightly difficult for black to find a move, but I'm sure he can think about rook d7 here, and he will realize that after he takes. So it was definitely a practical decision, and black actually used the scanning technique. Even though he played queen into b2 and then he used it, but he used it to find opponent's resources. So you can use the scanning technique for finding your own moves as well as finding your opponent's moves. That is the importance of scanning technique in calculation. So the game happened, so like the main variation that I thought about later on was something like rook f7, queen moves to attack on d8, bishop goes back, rook e8, rook f8, takes, and then it's going to go in a queen ending, and it will probably end in a draw. So do you have any questions, guys, about the position, or any doubts about scanning technique? You can let me know right now. You can just ask me. Is there a lag, guys? And I agree, this position was really difficult, but it had a lot of moves, and like lot of variations were possible. That's why I chose this position. Maybe we can load the next game as well. Just a moment. This is a very famous game from Alpha Zero. Okay, thank you, Dada, and thank you, Bimba. Give me a moment, guys. You can ask me any questions about scanning technique if you have. Okay, so let's just a moment. Let's see a game. Let's see a position, in fact. Okay, so white has just played knight e4 here. Okay, yeah, Vijayta, sure, I'll explain. It is basically you just scan the board from A file to H file, and you try to find out what are all the candidate moves possible. So a move like queen c1 in the previous position was very difficult to spot, right? So we saw that the rook cannot move, the bishop cannot move, king cannot move, the pawn can move, the pawns could be moved, but they are not really helping. So it has to be a queen's move. Okay, and if it's a queen's move, then we saw that queen b1 is not working because queen cannot capture the h6 bishop. So queen a1 also the same issue. h6 bishop is not under attack, but queen c1, h6 bishop could be attacked. So you can use this method. You can use this method in rapid. I am not sure if you can use this in blitz because you don't have enough time. So even in this position that you can see, you can try to find what should be black's candidate here. So there are many moves possible, and candidate moves are not just limited to, or scanning technique is not just limited to your own moves. You can even spot your opponent's ideas and opponent's moves by that. So whenever you're calculating, obviously it's going to be difficult to calculate all the moves, but if you don't know what your opponent is going to do, how will you play, right? Or you cannot really calculate without that. So scanning technique is really useful in finding resources whenever you're losing, or even when you don't know what should be done in a position. You can always try to improve your pieces. So that also happens with a scanning technique. For instance, I see this position. Okay, maybe this position. I see that there can be some ideas with this discovered sort of attack here. So I see that, I sense that, and as white, I realize that okay, this piece is active, not really active, but at least it's developed. This is developed, this is developed. King is pretty safe. The only piece that is not working is the rook. So again, I use the scanning technique between the pieces. So I realize that rook a1 is not working, so I get the rook in the game. I hope I'm clear. So here knight e4 was played, and there are few moves. One is bishop into e4, one is knight into e2, one is something like knight f3. So again, we have lot of candidates. So what do you think should be black's move here, and why? As I mentioned, there can be some threats to the queen, but now the knight is supporting. So you first play this. Then when he captures, then you play rook into f2. Okay, so when he captures on g5, then you capture on e2. Takes, and then you just take and win the game. It's a mate. So also you should remember that candidate moves can, first you can think about check, capture and threat. So try to think the forcing moves which go in one line, like there are not any refutations, they are more forced, and the response from the other side is also forced. Yes, you're right. Bishop into e4 is correct. You're right. Tipanna, knight f3, I think knight f3 here or before bishop into e4. Knight f3 I can take, and you cannot take because this is hanging. Also this is hanging. So that is the problem. So you just take. So this queen is no longer defended. And now you don't play knight e2 or knight f3 because you sense that there is something on the diagonal. This diagonal here. So you play this move. Now you're attacking. So if he captures, you can take here. And now he takes, then you give this check. The king moves inside and you just win the game. Okay guys, so any more questions about scanning technique? Try not to use it too often because otherwise you will end up in time pressure, but there are situations where you don't understand what to do, like all the pieces are developed and even your opponent's pieces are developed, but you don't really know what plan to follow, so you can use that scanning technique. Also look at games guys, like try to study world champion games, any games you can see, and use the same technique. So you go from a file to h file, not necessarily always. Once you it looks very difficult in the beginning, but once you're used to it, it helps you in the game, trust me. Like you will just find the moves and the calculation very quickly if you use this technique. Okay guys, so this was today's lecture and I hope you liked it. Do like, share and subscribe guys to Unacademy Chess India, and there is an offer going on till 5th of September. So you can use my referral code Parnali16 and you can get the first month at just ₹99 instead of 1500. So you can get to learn from Anand, Kramnik and all the top coaches. So do subscribe if you haven't already. Vijeta, you can take up to, like just scan the board, like okay, this move, no, this not possible, this move not possible. So like in the initial position we saw a4 and a3, we realized that that two moves are not really helping, so you just cancel those moves from your calculation. So a4 reject, a3 reject, and then you go on and reject the other moves which are not really important, and then you will find the main candidates. So then you can calculate. So that way you know that you've seen everything and you've not really missed anything. Bimba, my next lecture is on 30th on YouTube, and my plus class on Unacademy is tomorrow. So it's going to be a quiz class tomorrow. If anyone of you has subscribed, it's going to be at 5 p.m. tomorrow. Good luck guys. I hope you found this useful. Take care. Bye guys.